Well, everybody, welcome to the Plant Power Half Hour on Thursdays with Paula and I. We are here every week talking about plants and herbs and food and nutrition and essential oils, which is what we're kind of focusing on today. We have been reviewing a book called It All Began in a Garden. And this is an amazing book if you are looking for something that kind of ties into the spirituality, where our food and our kind of remedies have come from. We're picking 3 or 4 herbs every week, plants every week that we're talking about. And Paula, what are we starting with today? We have 4, I think we're doing
We're
today.
starting with ginger today. And yeah,
Okay.
it is amazing. And I love how the author, Dawn Camp, ties in how God created these plants for us, for our healing, for our food, for our medicine. And the solutions are right there. So I know the first one, ginger, that's a common one. Like, I don't know, most of us have had an upset tummy, been given some ginger ale or other forms of ginger to ease our stomach and digestion. And as weird as it is, it's such a distinct taste, but it helps. Like, I can't understand it. I just know that it works. And there's science behind it, of course. But it is like that comfort thing that helps you feel better when your tummy is just angry.
Yeah, anywhere from pregnancy to nausea, upset stomach, all of those things where we have times in our life where the stomach doesn't feel right. That's what we think of it for, but one of my favorite ways to use ginger is with tofu. I was a vegetarian for a long time, and I still like tofu. If you can buy organic, non-GMO tofu, it's still one of my favorite things to get that firm tofu and saute it in some tamari sauce with ginger and make it real spicy. And it's one of my favorite things. And I also have used ginger on cruises. About a week before you go on the cruise, I would take 4 to 6 capsules of ginger every day before getting on the cruise. And it really would alleviate that motion sickness feeling when you get on, that causes that upset stomach.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, anywhere from a week to 4, 5, 6 weeks beforehand. Just it increases the circulation, starts moving that blood in a different way. It also can help to get circulation moving out to our extremities, to our fingers and our toes. So it's always a great winter herb. When you're going to go outside and play, or the kids come in from being outside, making them a ginger hot chocolate instead of just a hot chocolate will help to push, or a cayenne hot chocolate. Okay, changing subjects here, but the idea is to increase that circulation throughout the body. And then, during times of illness, when you have the chills and you're laying in bed and you're not feeling good, a cup of ginger or even a ginger bath, just grating that ginger, sticking it in a sock, tying it underneath the faucet so that hot water kind of infuses the water as it runs through that ginger sock, filling up that tub. It will cause sweating, it will push things out of your body just to help you feel better. So
Mhm.
I can go on and on, but I'm going to throw it back to you. Let's learn some of the science from the book. Yeah, there's so many stories about ginger.
Yeah. Well, it is used for so many things. And the author even mentions, how many times she had been pregnant and how ginger was associated with nausea for her. Like that was the constant thing. So what happens is a scent gets tied to a memory.
Yeah.
So now every time she smells ginger, she thinks about being nauseous or right. So it may not be such a wonderful experience, but she knows her body needs it. So I love the example that you brought in. And exactly what she did is put the oil in a capsule so that she can ingest it, get the benefit, but she doesn't have to smell it as long as she used to before, or it doesn't tie back to her 8 pregnancies of dealing with all of this nausea memory, right?
Right. Yep.
So, but I have cooked with ginger oil. I've used it in there. But literally, when they say a drop or just a toothpick of it, that's really all you need. I overdid it. They come out fast. So, like when you're using an oil, a drop, I tip the bottle on its side. If you start going like this, you're going to get way too much because depending on the plant, they come out faster than others. So my tip is get it on its side just until that drop is like hanging from the lip.
And it's
And
good.
as soon as it falls off the lip, you're lifting it right back up because too much can ruin a dish. It just becomes too intense, or you have to add double the food to like calm it down.
Yeah.
My other tip when using it for cooking is to drop it into a spoon. So that way, if you did get two drops, you can control how much actually goes into your pot or your dish, so that you're not going to overpower your dish with too much ginger. I was making a pumpkin pie. And so putting all of these traditional spices, instead of the dried, I did the oils. And oh, that was a different tasting pie with that strong ginger in there.
Funny.
Nobody else liked it. I was the only one that ate it.
Yeah. And you can mix it in with your sauce. Like if I'm using tamari sauce, I'll put the drop in that in the liquid
Yes.
portion. Because if I lose a teaspoon or a tablespoon or whatever of the liquid that I'm using, no harm, no foul. I don't mind that.
Right.
But yeah, don't drip it right into your food. Whenever you're using oil, that would be our recommendation.
Yeah. So the author in this book also references using this as a massage oil. Have you ever used ginger topically for
I
muscle relief?
I really haven't. I've used it on the
That's in.
bottoms of the feet for cold toes. Like I said, when the
Uh-huh.
winter, when you go outside, it's great
Yeah.
on fingers and the toes to get them, ooh, when you're really cold, it really brings the blood flow to those areas. But I haven't really used it in a massage oil. I don't know that I'm daring, but sometimes I don't want spicy on my skin.
Yeah, I have not either. So that's a new thing for me to learn. She does include a recipe in the book, and she calls it a clear your head roll on. So she's putting in 8 drops of ginger, 5 drops of peppermint, 4 drops of eucalyptus, 3 drops of copaiba, and 2 drops of frankincense. And then you fill the rest of the 10 milliliter bottle with a carrier oil. So applying it to muscles or to the chest to open up the lungs, it probably has a dual effect of that muscle relief and respiratory support.
Yeah, peppermint.
So I'm curious. I love that she has so many recipes included in this book that that'll be a great one for me to experiment and
Yeah,
try, see what
yeah.
that one might be like.
I've only used ginger, like grated ginger, the whole root in the bathtub. Yeah, I've never done just the oil in there, but I suppose it would be very similar. The oil is just so concentrated and can be
Yeah.
much more potent. So just use caution. Try it in a very small dose to begin with. If you're going to use it in the bathtub, a couple of drops in your Epsom salt, let it sit and stew and stir around in there, and then just, dose that Epsom salt in there little by little. But I just kind
Mhm.
of grate it and stick it in a sock.
Yes,
Or
because you don't want to clog your
I
drain.
actually have a giant tea-ball now that I can get all kinds of herbs in the tea-ball, and I just hang it around the spigot so that when the water comes through the tea-ball, and then
Oh,
if I want it more potent, I just unlatch it and let it float in the tub with me. So
cool. Yeah, that's a great way. And then it doesn't clog your drain.
yeah, I used to just dump the herbs right in because I like floating in the flowers, and oh my gosh, you have to use a strainer and then you scrape it all out. It was like, this is way too much work. I don't want to do it like this. If
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
outside, maybe I would, but not in the house. Not in the house.
Yeah, yeah. So the next oil we're going to talk about is fennel.
Yeah.
So fennel also ties into this digestive support, right?
Actually,
Fennel's used by many cultures as a digestive aid to chew some fennel seeds after a meal to support the digestion. Um, do you like black licorice, Lisa?
don't. I don't. I use
So,
licorice root, the plant licorice root. I use that in different things because it's very mucilaginous. So if people have issues with their throat or coughing, and they might call for that in a herbal lozenge recipe or something. But I don't like black licorice or anything that tastes like black licorice.
so fennel often has that same taste or scent of black licorice. So
But it's much
you may be
milder because
drawn to it or
I mean, I can eat it like an apple. I used to grow it in my garden and I love fennel bulbs but yeah,
ah,
not.
yeah. So it definitely has a distinct scent and flavor to it. Fennel essential oil is actually steam distilled from the fennel seeds. So how the plant is grown, it's used for that. Different oils, use the roots or the leaves or the flowers. This one uses the seeds to extract the most potent constituents of fennel from there. She's got some fun history in here about fennel. And I thought it was fascinating how, it's been around for thousands of years, but what people thought about it or what people did with it eons ago is so interesting and so different. She references in medieval times, people believed that when they hung fennel over a door, that the fennel would fend off evil spirits. In Greek mythology, Prometheus stole fire from Mount Olympus and hid it in a stalk of fennel and gave it to man. And then absinthe, the alcoholic beverage that was banned in the US in the early 1900s, is just start to come back to sale in 2007. That contains fennel along with other botanicals as well. I never knew any of those things. I thought that was
No, I didn't know that.
fascinating how it's in stories, it's in myths, it's in, all these other references throughout time.
There's so many pieces that you can use of the plant. I love the bulb because it's much milder, but if you grab one of those stalks and they look like celery, you can cut it up and use it for dips and things. If you like that licorice scent, my mom loves licorice, so I'll give her the stalks just to chew on.
Really?
No, I don't like it. But then it has these furry, like the fronds have these like furry, lacy leaves. And you can, clip those off. And those are a fabulous garnish on top of like egg salad. So you can use the whole plant. And then if you let it go to seed, obviously that's where we get our essential oils from. One of my favorite ways to use the fennel bulb is I chop it up and I add shallots and just kind of roast it with Brussels sprouts, because those Brussels sprouts, not everybody likes Brussels sprouts. It's kind of an acquired taste. But when you roast it with a little olive oil and that fennel flavoring, it changes it. And it's delectable. Yeah, roasted
Yes.
Brussels sprouts. Yeah.
So many ways to use the plants and all parts of the plant or extract it into the oils and use that support, but mainly used for just that gastric distress, digestion, whether you're putting it on the tummy topically, whether you're ingesting it, can have that big effect. When I was pregnant, fennel was helpful for increasing milk production too. So mothers that are under stress or having low production when they're breastfeeding, trying to go back to work, balance work and nursing, often shows that reduction. So fennel, it was a great help for me to keep my milk production high enough to nourish my baby. So that was a really interesting one. But yeah, the smell of it, again, it was like, how does this work? What is this? I didn't know of the oil at that time, just the herb, but it was definitely helpful for that. So, and now many people are using the oil as well as a topical support there too.
Yeah.
Let's move on to nutmeg is our next topic. I love nutmeg. I love the smell of like these warm fall spices.
Yeah.
And nutmeg is definitely one of the more common ones. It's actually one that I love for brain support. For a long time, and I don't know why I stopped, probably because I ran out for a while. I put nutmeg in my coffee every morning.
Oh,
right? I'm starting the day. I want to start sharp and fresh, and nutmeg in my creamer and my coffee was a fabulous taste, but also it was very invigorating and sharpening for me. So I love doing that. And now that we're talking about it, I think that's what I'm going to do after we finish this.
coffee, but when I think of nutmeg, I think of eggnog.
Oh,
I love, and I used to make soy nog, and you have eggnog, soy nog, almond nog, all of those nogs, wherever you land on that. I think of it as that holiday treat. My dad and I would sit and drink eggnog, and I always bought the whole nutmegs and grated them on. And then when I ran out, I did try using the oil in it, and it actually it's much more fragrant, and you get to really taste it better. Like it actually is it's more flavorful than just using the fresh nutmeg, but I still like to see the little flicks, the little flecks of
yeah.
that, for decoration on the top. But
Mhm.
now I kind of use both. I do like to add the essential oil because I'm not a huge fan of it. It was more tradition, something I did with my dad. It takes me back to those memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I prefer to taste the nutmeg than the eggnog.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so Nutmeg has, she references some studies in the book, and she notices or notes that it exhibits a lot of antioxidant effects. It has anti-inflammatory properties and is antibacterial. It may boost mood and libido, benefit heart health, and help control blood sugar. The nutmeg contains compounds that relieve pain, relax the blood vessels, lower blood pressure, and benefit the brain. Um, and nutmeg can also help support your body's production of melatonin to help you sleep. So
Probably
it's
because it calms the
interesting.
adrenal glands, our adrenal glands
Yeah.
are, yeah, those little, two little, they look like nutmegs sitting on top of your kidneys back there. Like, and yeah, using it over the adrenal glands is kind of how you affect some of those different organ systems of
Mhm.
the body. And by calming it and slowing it down and helping to nourish it, I can see how all of that stuff would make sense.
Yeah, yeah. She's got some great references in here, and of course cites the studies that they're related to. And you can search some of these on PubMed. Is it
Go, go.
PubMed.org? Gov. Um, so lots of information about what people are doing with it and how they're using it there. That can be just fascinating to understand how
Again, a
these.
spicy one, so you want to make sure that you dilute this if you are using it on your skin, over your adrenal glands,
Right.
on the back. Definitely, put it in a carrier oil, drop the the essential oil into the carrier oil before applying it. Don't put this directly on the skin because it is a hot oil and can burn your skin.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And definitely one you only need the tiniest bit. So again, the same thing of just a partial drop, or put it in something so that you can use a toothpick to pull out just part of that drop. It can overpower a recipe or a drink, depending on what you're making too. She has a beautiful recipe in here for a quick spicy cider. So
Mm.
2 cups of apple cider, a cup of orange juice, 3 drops of lemon, a drop of nutmeg, a drop of clove, and a drop of cinnamon bark. So that would be a really flavorful combination with
Yeah.
all of those in there. But only a drop will do you.
And you better put that in a big bowl. That is not a cup portion.
Right, right. Yeah, she's got 3 cups of liquid in
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
you could just keep adding more liquid if
I would, yeah,
there's
add liquid to
some.
taste because that still seems like that's a lot of oil for just those 3 cups of liquid to
Mhm.
me. I don't know. But, and I like spicy, so maybe it'd be worth trying it to see if that's a good recipe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then clove is our final one that we're diving into today. Another hot one. So again, being careful if you are touching this, that you want to make sure to dilute with a fatty oil like a coconut oil, avocado oil, even an olive oil, whatever you have handy that's going to help slow down the skin's absorption of the oil. The body knows these are fabulous things and it just wants to suck it into our system quick. But our skin can't handle it that fast with these hot oils. And that's why it's important to dilute it with that fatty oil that just kind of slows down the absorption into our body so it can be handled at a much gentler pace. there as well.
That kind of brings me to two stories about that. I have one that's an annoyance to me and one that I actually use. I had trauma to my front face, so I've had to have my front four teeth worked on, and I used instead of having the shots, where they put it in, and the lidocaine or whatever, or what is it called, Novocaine. When they deaden you, I actually used clove oil. And I had a really cool doctor when I lived in Las Vegas, and he had done some research on it. And I brought mine in, and here I want to do this. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I know about this. I wanted to experiment on somebody." So he did a lot of work in my mouth just using that, diluted, um, to do dental work. So that was kind of fun. But oftentimes I see moms read online that they can use this for teething babies, and I will see people actually use it straight out of the bottle. They'll take some, put it on their finger, and rub it on the baby's mouth, and babies can't tell. It does calm them. We've seen them stop crying when you do that. But a couple of things can happen. This can burn. It can burn and blister, and so it's a very potent oil. So if you are going to use it in those kinds of cases inside of your mouth, you must never forget to dilute those oils. And then you can also, on infants using that kind of an oil, you can create toxicity. Essential oils are from nature, but so are a lot of things. So are a lot of negative things. Hemlock is from nature. Poison ivy is from nature. We have a lot of toxic plants that we can use. And so anything, even as good as it is, and what a wonderful remedy it is, anything used not in moderation can cause issues. And infants are so, they can absorb everything. And so actually get yourself a book. And if you're going to use this with children and infants, any of the oils with children and infants, I would encourage you to dive in a little bit deeper. Don't just Google it. Get a reputable book, that somebody who's done some of the research and some of the science, and make sure that you can back it up. Don't just read somebody's homemade webpage and see what they did, because oftentimes people are writing stuff that they read and they haven't actually tried it themselves. One of the kind of the laws, or the unspoken rules for herbalists, is we never give a client or somebody that we're working with something we haven't tried. Like if I ever make a recommendation for an herbal remedy for somebody, I've put it in my mouth, I put it on my body, I've tasted it, I know how it's going to affect my body. Yeah, you're going to respond differently, but I know if it's spicy or if it's hot or if it's cool, or what the activity is in that herb. And so again, I would encourage you, if you're going to use these things for your children, perhaps you might want to adopt that kind of idea. Put it on you first so that you know the intensity of some of these things that you're working with. They're natural, they're safe, they're healthy alternatives to chemicals, far better, but they can still get into that place of, the danger zone, depending on how we're using them. Sorry, off the soapbox, keep going.
No, that's a really great point, because they are, like we mentioned earlier on, all four of these, they are so highly concentrated that common products, people like to use a lot of stuff. This is not one. This is use less, use little, dilute it, really pay attention to that. And yeah, for children or babies, refer to a resource that is an expert in that field, that has experience with it, because it does cause some numbing of that area, and you don't want to be numbing tongues and other important areas that they need for function. Feeding.
You can always add more. That's the beauty of it. With herbal medicine, we start with small, 1 or 2 drops, or, a toothpick full of the essential oil. You can start with small amounts, because if we receive the effect that we're going for, we don't need more. It just makes expensive, an expensive remedy. And the idea is to just create the solution, not cause a problem.
Yeah. So clove has high antioxidant properties. So this is really beneficial to support the body, to help our bodies just handle all the toxins that we're exposed to in our environment, in fried food, in like whatever we're either intentionally putting on our bodies, or just exposed to in the air and things like that. But it's the highest, clove is the highest antioxidant value of any herb or spice as a dried herb. So clove essential oil, was also found to be the most concentrated antioxidant with an ORAC value of more than 1,000,000. The ORAC value measures how the free radicals work and its value compared to other foods. So if you compare that 1,000,000 of clove to, let's say, blueberries, they're only going to score 2,400, or oranges are going to score 750 compared to the clove. Way higher, way bigger impact on that antioxidant value for the body. So it's fascinating because we think of blueberries as a superfood, a superfruit, like it's the best nutrient. But then when you compare it to clove, you're like, whoa, clove blows it out of the park
Yeah.
on this scale. So fascinating to see how we can support our body with foods and we can support our body with herbs in so many great ways.
And that ORAC, what, you know, it's an acronym for oxygen radical absorbency capacity, capability.
Capacity.
Is it capacity? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oxygen radical absorbency. So it's how it affects oxidation in the body, bringing more
Yeah.
oxygen to it.
Fascinating stuff. And she leaves this chapter with a pumpkin spice creamer. I have done this before, mixing almond milk, 2 cups of almond milk, a 1/3 cup of pumpkin puree, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1 drop of clove, 1 drop of ginger, and 1 drop of cinnamon bark. Mixing that together, I just keep it in a glass jar during the week in my fridge and then just add a little bit to my coffee as needed. So it's so tasty, but like we said, that ORAC value that's in these oils, man, it's like a powerhouse for your body. So your
If
cup of
you,
coffee can be loaded for the day.
yeah, yeah. Young Living now has the vanilla essential oil. Can you, I wonder if you could swap that out. I haven't used that at all for eating or cooking. I got it. I've used it in fragrances, you know, in the diffuser to, you know, to fill the room with that, but I've not actually tasted it. Have you?
I have not converted my recipes to that. I'm still
Okay.
using traditional vanilla
Yeah.
because the quantity I feel like is also needed for the liquid portion
Yeah.
of it. You know, a teaspoon or in a dish is a little bit different than a drop. So I haven't experimented with that yet.
I have. Yeah. And I make my own vanilla, so I don't, yeah, I enjoy doing that. So it's always in there, just the beans in there, kind of soaking. They're doing their business. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so lots of fun stuff in Dawn's book. It's been really fun to go through this. Read her stories. We haven't even talked about all her stories from these 4 chapters, but read the stories, relate to them, and then also take the knowledge and what you glean from that and how it fits into everyday life. Some of it you might just be soaking up to know for later when you need it, and other things are like, oh yeah, I can use that now. I can dive right back into that, like the nutmeg I'm going to dive into after we end this call.
Yeah, it encourages you to try different things. People always ask me, how do you know so much? How do you remember all this stuff? And it's like, you use it. You know, the reason that I know so much is I've been using it for 30 years and it's just a lifestyle. It's what I do. People come and they look at my covers and go, I can't find sugar. I can't find, you know, what is arrowroot? What are all these different things in there? And it's like, it's really hard to eat at your house. I can't identify anything. But it's
Yeah.
using it is how you learn this. And so take one thing, you know, start small. Decide, you know, maybe this fall you're going to try all the different fall flavors, the spices, make your own chai mix or play around with the different herbs because when you have stories, it's what causes you to remember all of the different ways to use these things. And
Mhm.
this, the beauty of this book is it also gives scripture. So Paula and I both teach essential oils of the Bible. And we're talking about maybe doing the Daniel plan, food and nutrition from, and the Daniel plan was again from the Bible. It's the nutrition plan from the Bible. So we're trying to incorporate some of these resources into our everyday life so that we can show people how to live healthy and happy lives and not worry about all the stuff, all the chemicals and you know, the GMOs and the adulteration of our food sources. And then also creating, you know, food sovereignty and kind of creating you know, health and wellness sovereignty for people that, you know, this stuff is available to us. Many of these plants you can harvest for free in the wild if you know what they look like. So we don't want people to do without or be reliant on a system that could someday really be challenged and struggling. And so we could really do away with a lot of the food issues that we have, the hunger issues, if we taught people how to grow and harvest plants, how to harvest free food, wild food, because it's out there, it's growing, but we
Mhm.
want to be safe about it too.
Yeah. And if you're a little nervous about um, ingesting these or applying them topically, start simply by putting them in a diffuser. Get them into your air to smell. Your body still absorbs it. Your body still gets benefit a little bit differently, but then you can at least enjoy it, kind of warm up to the idea before you tackle some of these other things as you're curious about it, or if you just want to take it slow and see, okay, if I smell this all day, how does this affect me
Yeah,
before we move to the next level? Take it at your own pace, whichever ones you need. And of course, use your own discernment on what's right for you and your family.
beautiful. If you need help, reach out because we're here for you. We'd love to help you. Next week, we'll be going 3 or 4 more plants we'll be talking about. We hope you come back. I hope you're enjoying this series. I know I have. I get to go back down memory lane and think about all the different ways I've used these plants, and it's super fun. I love going back to this. We're going to keep doing this. I want to keep doing book reviews. There's so many great reviews out there, books out there that contain resources for us. So we'll continue to follow along this path. When we finish this one, if you have any recommendations for us on a book that you'd like us to start reviewing or talking about, or one that you've come across, let us know. We'll look into it and see if maybe that's the next one that we do. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you, Paula. We'll see you next Thursday.
Bye.